Welcome back to Media7, where I'm talking music and media with Blue Smoke author Chris Bourke and Making Tracks presenter Nick Dwyer. Now, for some of us, the scruffy gospel of the rock press was a way into a lifetime of music fandom. But some of us aren't getting any younger, and there are new forms of musical discovery now. Do music mags still matter? Jose Barbosa looks at the demise of a local Bible.
Real Groove began 18 years ago as an in-house magazine for the record store Real Groovy. At its best, the magazine was chock full of solid music writing by people who knew their stuff.
I knew enough about it to know that I should be excited about writing for this, because it was probably, the foremost music publication in my mind that New Zealand had produced.
But as of this month's issue, with old Misery Guts himself on the cover, Real Groove is no more. The decision to kill off the magazine was made in that building by this man.
When it came to sales, both of the product and of advertising that supports it, those were the two areas that it was the weakest in. So readers were moving away from monthly business magazines, and so are advertisers. But also the music industry is changing. It's all the infrastructure that went around to support the advertising and getting people into store to buy CDs is under a massive amount of change. So those two things combine to make it financially impossible to maintain.
I don't know, man. Like, in all seriousness, should I be bummed out about this?
You should definitely be bummed out about it. I mean, it's a product of its time in terms of what's happened, but I think it's a real loss, and I don't think you'll kind of get a moment in time again the way that you got one when you had a few years of Real Groove at its peak.
Real Groove was a way to find out about new music and to find out which new music was worth your time. Unfortunately, like everything else in the bloody universe, that's been usurped by the internet. For example, when I used to work in student radio, one of my jobs was to find new bands to play every week on air. People assumed I must have been going to gigs every night. The truth was much different. Unfortunately, I was staying home, putting on my headphones, surfing the internet, and sitting on my fat ass.
People are hungry for now information. They don't want to be told about something a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the track. People want to know about it before it happens.
So what happens now? Part of Real Groove gets folded into the mag's weekly sister, The Groove Guide, along with its editor who takes the reins.
First and foremost, it will be about responding to what is happening week to week, like a roadmap to live music. So there'll be an editorial shift, but I believe you can have street press with teeth, I mean, the Village Voice is a free publication that's quotable, and that's what the Groove Guide can and should be,
So, I mean, as much as it's cliche to say, it's still an opportunity, and it's still, much as when the magazine started, it would have been something brand new for someone. It can be something brand new again.
It was a nice, hefty sort of 128-page chunk of people thinking considerately about these things, and often, not buying into whatever was going on in Brooklyn. They'd have that skeptical outside eye. And I think that really, really helped, and just the fact that, it was a mixture of young writers who weren't too jaded and older writers who had been there before and could smell bullshit a mile off.
Well, Chris, I think I'll take you up on the comment you made earlier on about things arriving by boat. That went on for a long time. I can recall my Surface Mail New Musical Expresses arriving every week, 2.5 months late, and it didn't matter. It would matter now, wouldn't it?
Oh, it sure would, because that's something you line the birdcage with now, something that old. All the new music I hear about is through the net. With the music press, it tends to be things that I've already heard about, the articles I'm reading, because you're just overwhelmed with content from all sources. So I can see it's not a surprise, because for all the people mourning the writing inside it, you need those ads in between the contributors.
So even as a former editor of both Rip It Up and Real Groove, you don't sound too sad about it.
Oh, no, I am. I love print, and the Real Groove has looked better than it has ever, really. The covers have been exquisite, the design's been great, and I just love that tactile thing. But the covers have, if you're putting $8 on a magazine, it has to be a saleable cover. It has to be an artist. It's a whole different shift from a free magazine. It has to be one that is much more mass market, because I believe that the music press starts a buzz and it's good for cults, but it's not great for hit records. It never made a hit song. Radio does that. It's music presses are much more for the preaching to the converted, really.
Yes, like us. Yeah. Nick, it did seem from looking at your show that no matter where you went, people did know about what was going on in the outside world musically, even quite remote places. What's their means of discovery?
Well,
they're not reading the music press either.
No, it's the internet. It's the internet has just exploded all over West Africa to like I mentioned before, favelas in Brazil. The internet has changed the game remarkably. But at the same time, they've got their healthy indigenous scenes that are flourishing and taking these influences. And
did you go anywhere where there weren't rappers?
No, I think
everywhere there's hip hop.
There is hip hop is everywhere, and I think as long as there's something to speak out against, and a dodgy government, or if you're feeling like you're being hard done by, then hip hop will always exist as a genre. And to be honest, I mean, when you think about what the origins of hip hop was in its original context, it's far more real in ghettos in Ghana and places in the Caribbean than the hip hop you're hearing out of New York.
I was also intrigued to see you talking to the two Japanese game music composers as well, because I get the impression that's become a significant avenue for music discovery.
Sync for artists is the future in terms of revenue. It's artists syncing to movies, to commercials, to television shows, but video games as well. It's a huge market.
Now, Chris, we mentioned advertising, and advertising I think has quite strongly driven how the music magazines that remain look. I mean, when we worked on Rip It Up, it was a scruffy piece of newsprint. Now it's perfect bound and glossy because that's what the advertisers want. Do you sort of miss the newsprint?
It's funny to see just how beloved that was when you look at them, and there are only 16 pages of a tabloid-sized newsprint, 2 or 3 colours, and you were so desperate for information that's what you cherished. But now all the magazines, printing has just changed so completely in the last 20 years that ups the ante so much for all magazines have to look like that. And if your core advertiser, which is the record companies, I mean, it's not that they're not just advertising in the music press, they're not even in New Zealand anymore. They don't have much staff here. They've done a major retreat from New Zealand. It's not just from the music press, as good as it has been, and Real Groovy has been great, and we'll see how Rip It Up, which is still thriving, see how that goes with only one of them in the market.
So where do you find music now?
E-music, which is like the subscription music service for adults compared to iTunes.
I'm also a user, and it has great recommendation features. You basically base your choice on what other people who have similar tastes.
You can't beat reading about a piece of music. It sounds like you push a button, you can hear an excerpt from it, and then moments later you can buy it. It's just unbeatable for music information.
Yeah, Nick, you're a DJ. Where do you get yours?
Well, look, the internet as well. I can't lie. A large majority of it is on the internet, but I'm very blessed and lucky that I've got the ability to travel to these places, and I still think there's nothing beats the being able to contextualise something and having a story to attach to it, and being at a crazy party in Buenos Aires and finding out what the DJ's playing, and then being able to go to a local record store and get that local form of music. Nothing beats that. And so so I like that.
Which interestingly is the kind of story that we're not getting now from the music press. There are no big on tour stories anymore.
No.
Where we can follow the artists on Twitter.
Yeah.
This has been one of the problems, is that the curse of the phone interview, which has kind of blanded out a lot of the journalism of the features, not the reviews. But when Rip It Up first started, the best they could do was to get in the car when they drove out from the airport. That was the idea of an interview. You'd hitch a lift in the taxi, or it seems like tin cans and string nowadays. I mean, when Rip It Up first interviewed Robert Smith of The Cure, he was sitting in the stairs in the middle of the night at his mum's home. He hadn't left home. So, compared to whipping around the world, it sounds glorious.
Yes, I interviewed Robert Smith of The Cure for Rip It Up, and he was quite out of it, to be honest. And that's our show. Thanks to Chris Bourke and Nick Dwyer, and thanks to you for watching. We'll be back with Media7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.